Monday. We'll call this meeting to order. Next item on our agenda is consideration of the February 24th, 2025 meeting minutes. There's no additions or corrections. We'll consider a motion to approve those minutes as written.
I make a motion for the approval of the minutes from February 24th, 2025.
All right, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those minutes are approved. Colin Alexander, you're up for the Alabama Power Company co-location agreement.
Good afternoon to the committee. My name is Colin Alexander. I serve as program manager with the Birmingham Department of Transportation. What's before you is a co-location agreement between the City of Birmingham and Alabama Power. This is through their Smart Cities division. This is part of our TrainFo ARPA pilot project. So if you recall, that's a pilot with TrainFo to monitor 4 rail crossings in the southwest portion of the city. The monitors have already been approved and attached to Alabama Power poles adjacent to these crossings. Now they just need to be powered in order to start collecting audio data adjacent to these train crossings to begin their analysis. So this is a agreement to power those sensors.
Okay. So $10,000 in total over 3 years.
Over the 3-year
Yeah.
period of the pilot,
Okay.
correct.
And it's an amount not to exceed.
That's correct. So that includes the rental fee for having the facilities on the pole, the month, and the there's like an installation fee, and then the power drawdown amount.
Okay. So pretty straightforward, just powering the detection devices.
That's correct.
All right. Counselor Tate, do you have any questions about this item?
No.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we recommend this to the full council for approval.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so next item, Colin, is cost sharing agreement with Norfolk Southern Corporation for quick curb installation at railroad crossings.
Yes, so this is actually an agreement that has been to this committee and to council before, about almost a year and a half, 2 years ago. So we are partnering with Norfolk Southern on installing quick curb delineators at grade rail crossings where we've had a number of rail to car accident issues. These are 4 crossings that were originally part of a Section 130 grant, and then they got removed from the Section 130 grant scope, and so we're doing them individually with Norfolk Southern. It got passed by the city, and then there were some changeovers in staffing at Norfolk Southern, and this one sort of fell through the cracks on their end. They've now got a new safety person who's up and running. We went back and reviewed the contract, made a couple of slight edits, and we're just resubmitting it to the council. It's the same scope in terms of the rail crossing locations as previous.
Okay. So 3 locations, and basically we're splitting the cost.
We're splitting the cost of installation, and then we will take over the maintenance of them once they're installed.
Do we have data on, so it's been probably at least a year since the previous project that we did with Norfolk Southern. Do we have data? I believe that we saw a pretty dramatic improvement.
There was a pretty dramatic. Within the first year, we went down, I forget what the exact number of incidents before the installation, but we had no incidences within a year after installation. There have been 2 incidences along that corridor in the last year. One of them in Birmingham that we believe was intentional, and I'll leave it that, and then there was one in the Bessemer corridor recently. But the number of incidences that have happened in the Southwest corridor have dramatically been reduced.
Okay. And that's a, part of the city where I mean, based on my knowledge of it, we have a disproportionate number of train vehicle collisions, in particular because Amtrak is still traveling at a high rate of speed in that corridor.
That's correct, because the at-grade crossings in that area are still where Amtrak's traveling about 70 miles an hour compared to the typical about 50 miles an hour for a freight train. And so a lot of times your people will misjudge the distance of an approaching train and think that they can beat the crossing gate.
Right. Yeah, it's also an area of double track, so you could have
That's correct.
other trains partially blocking the line of sight. Okay. Counselor Tate?
No, glad to see that you guys are getting some relief over in these areas.
All right.
People just gotta take it serious when trains are approaching. Don't try to cross the tracks.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'll make a motion that we recommend this item to the full council for approval.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
So that will advance to the council. Next up, we have a proposal for 20th Avenue South partial closure.
Yes, I'm going to introduce this item and then ask Director Fowler to step in with some more details. But this is more of an informational item for you guys at this moment. We'll be coming back at a later date with a formal resolution request. But we are looking to install a temporary closure along, a partial closure, along 20th Avenue South near Richard Arrington Jr. Boulevard. This is a neighborhood request due to some concerns around future development in that area, and so I'm going to let Director Fowler go into more detail with that.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Again, I'm James Fowler. I serve as the director of the city's Department of Transportation. And I think you all recall there's a car wash that's proposed on 20th Avenue South at the intersection of Richard Arrington. It's just at the base of Vulcan. It's a controversial development for the surrounding neighborhoods. And we thought that at first that the development might not be allowed, and so we followed that process. And as the development has moved forward, because of just the controversy with the neighborhood, we've been reached out to by a number of the residents, and they've expressed strong desire to close off the end of 20th Avenue where it intersects Richard Arrington. So you would still be able to access the car wash, but what has been proposed is a simple gate arm that would close that off, and you could still walk around it or ride your bike around it if you're a pedestrian or a cyclist, or the fire department would have a key that would allow them to unlock it if need be. But it would effectively prevent through traffic from coming through at that end of 20th Avenue South. And so there's still access to the neighborhood off of 21st Avenue South, and it's only a relatively small number of houses that would be affected. So we've reviewed it. We've reviewed it with the fire department. We've reviewed it with our Office of the City Attorney. So we believe that it is a viable thing to do, to put that gate arm at that location. So we have not gone to the neighborhood yet to talk about it with them, although it has been a request from many of the residents in that neighborhood. So that's our next step. So as Colin mentioned, we're not necessarily asking for this body to take action on it today, but just to be aware that that's something that we're investigating and might potentially move forward.
Okay. So would it basically convert that small little segment that intersects with RHA into basically a one-way that would go, I guess that would be east?
It would be two-way, but the street would dead end just to the east of, there used to be a McDonald's on that site.
Right.
So that driveway will become the driveway for the car wash. And so just past to the east of that driveway would be that gate arm. And so it makes, it it divides the 20th Avenue into two segments, and so there's one short segment that faces Richard Arrington, and then the other segment that serves the neighborhood.
Okay, gotcha. All right. And this would prevent any traffic, you know, that otherwise might come through the neighborhood to access the car wash?
That's right, through traffic. And, you know, it's impossible to say exactly what percent of cars do that today, but I'm sure some traffic does that today. But I don't think it's a significant number. And so it is, the fear is that it would become more significant with the car wash.
Right. Okay. So no action being requested, just informational?
That's right, yes, sir.
Okay, and what kind of timeline, I mean, is this kind of contingent upon the car wash project moving forward?
Yes, it is. And so our next step is to go to the neighborhood and discuss this with them. And then from there, continue to kind of monitor the permitting and construction of the car wash. But we think allowing maybe 90 days for the process of approval for this, so talking to the neighborhoods and then coming back, we would need to do a public hearing like we did for the Eastlake street closures. So we would set that date and then allow however many weeks until we actually then have the public hearing. So we're thinking maybe 90 days from now. If everyone approves, then have the approval to build the gate. The city would actually install the gate. Like I said, it's a simple gate arm that we envision, so nothing too complex, but the city would actually install it.
Okay. Counselor Tate, you have any questions?
No.
Okay. All right, well, thank you for the information. All right. Next up, we have a presentation from Christina Argo, also from BDOT, about Park Mobile.
Good afternoon. Christina Argo, serve as Deputy Director for Strategic Projects in the Department of Transportation. So what you guys have in front of you is a Park Mobile contract. This effectively extends the terms of our agreement with Park Mobile for another 3 years. We've been operating under the terms of the original agreement that we were put in place with them in 2020. All the functionality of the system remains the same, and we work through a cooperative purchasing agreement to put together this contract with Park Mobile.
Okay. So in terms of Park Mobile's fee, that would remain the same they charge a fee per transaction?
They do. We actually have,
And that's paid by the customer, by the
By the
way,
user.
right? Yeah.
It's a transaction fee per parking session. And because we work through this cooperative, Omnia Media or Omnia something, we actually have a little bit of a better transaction rate working through them this time. So currently we're at 45 cents per transaction, and with this new contract we'll be at 40 cents.
Okay. And how are we doing in terms of revenue collection, using the Park Mobile system, versus our previous system where we were strictly, using coins?
So the majority of the money we collect from on-street parking now is coming through Park Mobile, through digital payments. So we've seen a huge increase in folks adapting and converting from cash, coins, to paying digitally. I don't know if I know the exact percentage, but it's definitely in the 60 to 70% range of folks who are using digital payments.
Okay. And do you know what our the last 3 years, what our revenue, I mean, like the total numbers and collections, what that looks like?
I don't have that in front of me, but I'd be glad to share that with you.
Yeah. Feel pretty confident that we're not, paying for, collecting enough in on-street parking to pay for all of the overhead, but, would be
We're-
nice to,
We're getting there.
okay,
We're getting there. This is really a part of our overall 12-step parking strategy, converting completely to a digital payment system. So this, coupled with all the other changes we're making, we're going to see a big improvement in that number.
what are Park Mobile's obligations, regarding signage and stickers, like each of the parking meters, that we have, whether they work or not, there's a Park Mobile, sticker on there, and I know that some of those, they get vandalized or damaged or otherwise, so how frequently are they, checking those and other signage to make sure that, it doesn't have a graffiti tag over it or something like that?
Right. So we are actually going through the process right now of updating all Park Mobile signage across the city. So you're going to start seeing new signs everywhere. If you want to take a look at the Parkside District to kind of see what that will look like in every single district, that's a good place to look at. Anytime they make a change to their branding or the ways that you can pay, whether that's through their app, through a QR code, through text to pay, they will send us brand new signs. So we work through them on a zone by zone basis and coordinate that with our team to get the signs installed, but they send all of the signage materials to us, free of charge,
For us to install?
for us to install.
Okay. Counselor Tate, any questions?
No, I did have an opportunity to use Park Mobile when I went over to the Peter shop, so I did, kind of see what you were talking about the signage, so it just had, all the precise information, like, what you need to do, your app, scan, it was very informational.
Good,
Yeah,
good.
so I have had an opportunity to use Park Mobile myself.
They've expanded since, when we started with them on the different ways to pay to try to make that user experience easier and more seamless, so.
So, I know we're talking about renewing the Park Mobile contract, but, that brings to mind enforcement, and the council, recently, approved changes to our zoning code that would, or have we done that yet, where that we would, allow towing for repeat offenders?
We're very close to having that in front of you guys. Not
Okay.
yet. We have a draft we're reviewing internally.
Okay. So currently, we're only ticketing for, expired or unpaid parking. So,
That's right.
got it.
Or other public safety violations related to parking where we're also ticketing.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion that we advance this to the full council for approval.
Second.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So that will go to the full council. All
Great.
right.
Thank you.
Next up, we have updates from our utility service providers. First up, we have Birmingham Waterworks. Hey, doing well.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hey.
My apologies. Firstly, thank you all so much for allowing us the opportunity to speak today. I'd be remiss if I didn't introduce our new general manager, Mac Underwood. He brings a wealth of knowledge to our utility, has been in municipal and also water industry financing and background for probably undercutting about 40 years. So he's definitely been a great asset to us. I do have a PowerPoint. I don't know if it's gonna, are we gonna show it or? There we go, all right. So you have in front of you a couple of different items, the PowerPoint for a handout, and also you have a detailed layout of your city, including your individual 9 districts that show you pipeline replacement work we're doing in your district, completed, current, and also in the future. So it gives you an idea of that. The next slide, we'll go over 4 different topics, but first, on the next slide, we can move it forward. Okay, this is our distribution system. We have a 5-county system, produce roughly 120 million gallons of water a day. We serve 5 counties, and largest county, of course, is Jefferson County, which we serve. The next slide talks about our assets. If you look at it, we have 4 intake facilities and also 4 filtration plants. To give you a state of affairs on that is we have 2 of the largest water treatment plants in the state of Alabama. And when you look at the pipe we have over 4,000 miles of pipe. That's enough pipe to go from California and back again. That's how much pipe we have in the ground. The next slide is a couple of projects, slide 5, that we're working on currently right now. Lake Purdy Dam Stabilization Project, which portion of that is in the city of Birmingham. The state of Alabama has 228 high hazard dams, meaning that if failure occurs, there's a potential loss of life, also major damage. We own 2 of those, and one of them located on Highway 280 in that area. $87 million for the total project, expands all the way to 2028. Also, we have in the city of Birmingham as well too, our new laboratory. When we think about water, people don't think about the laboratory itself. We do over 200,000 tests. And can you imagine that of every single year required by ADEM, required by EPA, but also required some things we do as well too to ensure that water quality is the best around. And last couple of is our AMI, Advanced Metering Infrastructure. I know we've probably heard a lot about it on the news, but the goal is to go from an antiquated process, which people read meters, to a process we lose electronics. What that helps with is the fact that if you're off on vacation or if you have a leak, you don't have to wait 30 days to find out someone reading it. Many times we have folks that have home have been flooded because of bursted pipes inside their home. There's immediate reaction, meaning that we'll let you know in real time you have a leak, and you can keep up with it yourself on an app. That project is slated to be $120 million, and the final completion of that is estimated around December 28.
Would that be, so there's around 700,000 customers in the Waterworks system. So what all would this cover?
Yeah, so exactly. So the population we serve is roughly 770,000. The actual meters we actually serve is a little bit over 200,000. Okay. So you take into account apartments, multifamily units, duplexes, things of that nature as a whole. But it'll take into account the transmitters, the signal that communicate, and also the meter itself. So that's what this will cover. We in the evaluation stage, a lot of it, we have decided on meters, and those meters should be coming in this year, and we'll start implementation starting next year, if not the end of this year.
But it's the entire system, all
Correct.
the meters?
All meters.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes. So very aggressive schedule. Keep in mind too, we have a lot of boxes already have been retroed already. The biggest thing is retroing what you have in the system to meet what you have there now. So we have new boxes that they can fit in, but some of them we will have to pull. But we're doing some of that work up front right now, digging, replacing those boxes. Some of them in concrete, some of them very interesting places, but it's up to us to make sure we get ahead of the curve when it comes to that.
So so replacing a meter doesn't require any, excavation outside of just the immediate location of where the meter is, right?
For the most part, it's a 50-50 chance. Our new meter boxes are slightly, they're larger, so you won't have to do much with them, but we start talking about more historic areas. where you still have the round top boxes. They are narrower. So we have been continuing to replace those. Some of it in different areas because 50 years ago, the meter box might have been in the yard, on private property. We've taken over 20 water systems and owned, so we've been having to move them back to the curb. Some of those areas was not developed, so my meter may be 200 yards on the opposite street because it wasn't a water main in front of my property. But now to current date is a water main in front of the property. So modifying those type of processes, but overall, regardless if it can fit in there currently right now, we're retroing to make that work ahead of time.
Wow, that sounds like a huge project and a aggressive schedule.
Yeah, our general manager, we have every 2-week meetings about this project, so no excuses on the success of it.
All right.
All right. And last piece of it, lead and copper, because you'll hear more and more about that, is the federal government, EPA, and also ADEM has required over the years lead to be totally out of your system. So to be real clear, the Birmingham Water Works has quality water. We don't have lead in our water. The challenge is that old piping has lead joints and other things. Actively over the last 5 to 6 years, we've had the pipeline replacement program, meaning where we replace the pipe on the street and between the main and the meter. But EPA is wanting to go further from the meter to the home. Now, we are working on through support with our general manager Underwood to gain some federal dollars to help out with that. But after next year, they're going to give us all water systems throughout the nation 10 years to eliminate lead, or at least offer opportunity for customers to have some type of way to get that replaced.
So for the homeowner, I mean, in that portion of the water line is the homeowner's responsibility. So on their side of the meter, that's what you're talking about, right?
Correct. You've been reading my notes. You didn't have it ahead of time, so you've been around. So I have a slide a little later. I can definitely be able to explain the detail of that.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
you're correct.
I was just curious, on that. Obviously the homeowner, it may be a historic home. They can't see the water line. They
Correct.
have no idea whether or not there's copper or lead there.
Right.
How would they go about making that determination?
Good question. So right now on our website, we have an inventory list we have developed. And from a map standpoint, after the 80s, late 80s, lead was not utilized. Copper and other things were occurring. Some people started in the 70s. So we have narrowed it down to a certain amount of areas and streets and homes that may have lead. On our website, you can actually call the water utility. We'll come out and actually test it as well too. So certain things you can do. We're providing information in the mailouts on the internet. So we have a strong communication plan that will be taking place over the next 2 years, educating our residents on lead itself. But we also have pictures that we hand out as well too. So it's a lot of different things we do to educate the public.
Okay.
Next couple of slides, because I wanted the city of Birmingham to be aware, we had 2 main leaks in January. I know you probably heard about it. One was in Tuxedo Heights neighborhood, and one was in 13th Street South. This kind of give you a little, go back to, if you don't mind, to slide 6 and 7. One of the leaks on slide 6 started at 5:30 a.m. and we were able to complete it at 1:05 p.m. The second leak on 7 in Tuxedo Heights started at 5:10 a.m. and were completed at 4:55. So from an informational standpoint, all leaks are not created equal. Some of them are 15 to 20 feet on the ground. We're required to do a line locate before we start digging. We're required to also cut water off as well too. So sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Your smaller pipe, you can fix those in 2 or 3 hours, but some of the larger pipes, it takes quite a bit of effort to fix those leaks. But our goal is we always communicate with the district that is impacted. I know I've texted and emailed some of you as well too, to make sure you're aware of that. Last few slides, and this is probably a heartburn. Y'all probably get tons of calls about paving. Okay, so a couple of years ago, Director Fowler and I got together, and we said, look, how can we improve from a paving standpoint, anything relates to Birmingham Waterworks? So we made a commitment for us as individual leaders to meet quarterly, but also made a commitment that we're gonna assign people to be liaisons to meet on a weekly basis to talk about any outstanding leads. That has been a success, from our discussion to the point where, we don't have backlogs of that. Because again, there's a lot of utilities in the road. Y'all are faced with major challenges because, it's individuals that wait till the inspectors are not working Monday through Friday to start digging on Saturday, hoping they can get away with it. One other thing we put in place too is we will not tap that water line unless we see your excavation permit. So now we know whether or not you went to the city and got an excavation permit. So those things we have done and working together as partnering entities helps out quite a bit. And one more topic, we meet with your engineering team and get your paving schedule. So sometimes you may want a street to be paved, but we say, look, work with us. We're gonna replace the pipe. Y'all can replace a lot more paving than pipe in a day period of time for us. But to get a brand new street and there's gonna be a leak the next hour, that's not benefit. So they will push that back, let us finish our work, and sometimes we are paved that road and y'all can take that off of your schedule. There's a lot of maneuvering going on, but we have worked extremely well together to make sure that's beneficial. I'm gonna skip over because I'm taking a little bit too much time. On slide 11, just a couple of projects that we're under construction, are ready for construction, and it is in the bid phase. And be real clear, our board of directors have put, in 2019, we had roughly about $12 million in our pipeline replacement program. And our board has invested quite a bit of funds into that. So we float anywhere between $20 to $30 million annually. So we increased that quite a bit. And that's been significant in helping for that. This next slide that shows the next one, go to the next one, and I'll close out here. This is what you were referring to, Mr. President. The first thing that occurs is one thing you're gonna have in the street that may not be every utility, but by state statute, you have to have 811 to locate that road to ensure that whoever performs any digging, they have to locate all lines, period. Sometimes the gas may not be in the street, maybe in the alley. Power may be overhead, but it's probably 10% chance, 90 to 100% chance it's gonna be water. So most residents say, I see blue lines, it must be the waterworks. Now, we probably, out of the 220,000 calls that go down to the state for line locating, we only represent 4,000 that we call ourselves. If you're doing a paving job, if you're doing a driveway job, you're required to call 811 so you won't hit anything. So regardless of the lines that are on the road, it may be private entities that are calling to Mark for that. So I just want to be clear on that. And we make sure we go to several neighborhood meetings to educate our community on that and give them our number as well too. As you can see on this, we compete with quite a few items, utilities in a row. To answer your question right here, so from the main to the meter is actually owned by the homeowner. Main to meter is actually owned by the homeowner. The Birmingham Waterworks, if it's an active account, we will maintain it. I mean, if it leaks, we'll maintain it. Okay? If it's past that meter, then that's totally private, other than a 6-foot pigtail on that end. Mm-hmm. So all from the main to the home is owned by the homeowner, but from the main to the meter, since it's in the public right of way, we will maintain that as long as that is active. And last, we have $115 million in our capital program for this year. Any questions?
Okay, yeah, so, getting back to the lead testing.
Yes.
Is there like a phone number or something that folks can call to get that testing done?
Yeah, so 244-4000, and they can ask for our lab or just quote lead. Everyone is trained on that, also on our website. And right now, we're going through updating our website to bring some of our hot topic items to the front, like lead. So time our customers look on the website, they can just click on it. But for the most part, 4,000 is the most critical number because everyone doesn't have internet. Now, I would say again, we're also continuing to send out mailers because everyone does not want to make a phone call and don't want to look on the internet or don't have social media. So we're reaching out as much as we can. Our general manager has talked to us about thinking outside the box, and we need to talk to churches and things of that nature. Anywhere we can touch people is going to be beneficial. So our 2-year communication plan is strictly about that.
Okay. So you mentioned this already, and it's the thing that we hear about the most is, and you know, you don't even have to live here to recognize this, but if you drive around Birmingham, there's lots of, you know, patches where utility work has occurred. So, you know, I know there's a process around doing repair of street excavation sites. So just to summarize quickly, you know, the work gets done, they put a temporary patch in place that once the work is completed, they allow up to 30 days for subsidence. And then they come back with a permanent patch
Right.
at that point. So what is the standard for that permanent patching, you know, and I would imagine is the waterworks performing those permanent patches, or do you guys contract that out, or is that the responsibility of, you know, whoever's doing the street excavation?
Yeah, great question. So if the waterworks perform the work, we are responsible, whether we use a contractor or not. City of Birmingham likes a 30-day window because the ground does settle. They don't want you to put a final patch and all of a sudden it settles, they got to be dug back up. So we put a temporary. In some regard, if it's a high travel area, instead of putting a temporary, we'll put a permanent, because we worked it out with James that we'll come back still in 30 days to do a permanent, because a temporary, if we have to come back every 2 days because it's been pushed out of that hole, you might as well put a permanent, come back in 30 days. So that's the rule, because you have the potholes still on your streets if we do it any other type of way.
Okay.
And for the private entities, they are required to pave. That's why it's so important for us or any utility to not allow them to tap on their service unless it's an excavation permit. We won't touch it, and we'll report it as well too.
So that's the case for new customers. But if you're an existing customer and say, you know, you're having your water line replaced, I suppose that wouldn't involve,
Correct.
you know,
Yes.
going, yeah,
So no one can tap our water service other than us. Don't matter if it's existing home or new development.
gotcha.
We are the only ones that can tap their water service. So either way, you have to have an excavation permit before we get in that hole.
So what would happen in the event that you guys discovered that someone had tapped into your service? I mean, what's the penalty?
We will dig it up, and you're probably out another $10,000. We typically don't run into that if we catch them, because we'll disconnect the service, and they have to start all the way over.
Okay.
And I do want to make one modification, because we have a definite link to it. For lead service, the phone number to our direct staff is 205-244-4381. Again, that number is 205-244-4381.
Counselor Tate?
No questions. I mean, I just want to piggyback off what Councilor Quinn said. I know a lot of times when we go to meetings or what have we, and you guys have did some piping, a lot of people complain about, you know, the road not being as smooth as it was before it started. And so I just recently got a call. I think you guys may be doing some work over in the Hooper City area. And a lady called me about that, so I referred her back to you all.
You sure can.
So, and just, you know, like you said, keeping us updated, because I think when the constituents call us, they think that we have, you know, the answers. I think she said this work had been going on since last year.
Right.
So
Right.
just really, if you can provide an update on that, that would be good for me to give to her. But I did refer her back to the waterworks to follow up.
Right. And anytime y'all have any challenges from the city, please reach out to me. Your staff does a good job of sending it to myself and our public relation team, and we'll get on and provide you with an answer.
And then I did want to hit around this. I know something happened on my street. I think that these days are moving around so fast. I want to say it may have been Friday. And so I'm assuming that it was an emergency because it was after hours. And I think my mom, she was communicating, you know, with the waterworks. And I think for her, she said it would have been nice if somebody had told her, you know, the water was getting, because our water was off. Our
Okay.
water had gotten shut off, but it did eventually come back on. So I assumed that it was, it was an emergency. And I told her, I said, the water get cut back on. So I guess her concern was, well, why didn't anybody call and tell us, something was
Right.
happening? So I did see them, when I was pulling into the driveway, I did see the waterworks and they were doing something. And then the next day they came out and they power washed, the little area. So it did have some, like a paving patch on it.
Yes. And if you can, Counselor, have your staff to send me an email or I can write it down, because I'd love to kind of verify what area that was to get your answer back.
Okay.
Whatever I need to do.
So I just think for her, it was just like, they could have called and let us know they was turning the water off.
Yeah. So last thing, I promise you, I said it 100 times. One thing when we do our pipeline replacement program, we do issue out to the counselor, the neighborhood president, if we have their contact information, and provide a map, and also when we'll perform the work. I can say that our inspector that's on site typically has the cell phone number of the neighborhood president, vice versa. So that has been going well, but if there's anything that slipped through the cracks, we'll be happy to address.
All right.
That's all.
Thank you very much for
Thank
the
you.
information. Thank you especially for these maps. We'll keep hands on those so that when we get calls, we'll have some idea of whether or not this relates to one of these projects.
Yes, sir. Thank you all so much.
You're welcome.
All right. Next up, we have Charter Communications.
Good afternoon, Council, Mr.
Afternoon.
President. Just continuing to state what we always state, charters continue to enhance, build our network, keep our network strong in the community. We are still working on a project I mentioned, maybe last time I was here, we called it High Split. We're getting a lot of federal funding for bringing broadband into some of the rural areas. Those funds allow us to build kind of fiber to the home, and the fiber to the home means that there's symmetrical speed. You upload and download speeds are the same. So we've been working tirelessly for about the last year. We probably got another year and a half to go to make sure that everyone gets symmetrical speeds. We're enhancing our nodes, and the way our system works, the old system was kind of a trunk, like a tree trunk, then branches go out, then limbs go out of the branches. And we call the branches nodes. So we're actually reducing the size of some of the nodes, strengthening some of those nodes so that at some point, everybody's gonna be able to get symmetrical speeds, which is gonna be a very good enhancement, especially for telehealth, telemedicine, studying, school, working at home. Those symmetrical speeds be really good. But we continue to grow as a company too. Over 31 million customers these days nationally. Nationally, we have about 95,000 employees. What I want to talk about here, though, is something that's really unique. We just crossed the 10 million mark in mobile sales. We started 6 years ago. So that 6 million mobile sales has gone very well, and price-wise, it's pretty good. It's around $25, which is an unlimited talk data. You've got gig power services, you've got broadband internet, you got about 57 million homes that people are able to get those services. So having 10 million customers using the phones, growth is a pretty good opportunity for us. we lost a special business package too. Our communities are strengthened by small and medium businesses, and you all know very well that they can make our community stronger. So we've done some good upgrades to some small and medium-sized business packages where, spectrum internet plans, offer guaranteed pricing for 3 years, so there's no price change in 3 years. And there are a couple of packages that would allow for a variety of services like business voice, business connect, mobile service, as well as business TV. So those things are working well. What I really wanted to share, and I want to get Kim, if you'll pass one of these to each one of the counselors there, I'd appreciate it. Here, Kim, take one for yourself, please. I'm sorry. So over the last few years, we've had the Affordable Connectivity Program, and that program itself was federally funded. It was able to assist customers, your constituents, that really fell into some needy situations, let's say that. Low income, maybe a variety of qualifiers. So that was a free program that government had. It went away. We lost a lot of customers because we didn't have a free replacement. We still don't have a free replacement, but we've got our program, our Spectrum Internet Assist program. And what that does, it kind of follows the same qualification guidelines as the Affordable Connectivity Program, and for $15 a month. So the Affordable Connectivity Program used to pay $30 toward a voucher for whatever your service was. We put a package together for $15. Now, it's not anything where you're going to be gaming online, you're going to have a house full of people gaming, but what you can have is 50 megs download speeds, 10 megabits up. There's unlimited data. There's no charge for that data use. You can have, there's no annual contract, so you can get it this month. You don't like it, you can get out of it with no problem. No early termination fees, security suite, so make sure you don't get hacked or anything of that nature. Standardized modem, there's no charge for the modem. And there's some parental controls. If kids are there, we still want to make sure things are safe for the kids. So we didn't have a way to replace a free program, but at $15, with that, we put together something that even those on a modest to moderate income can be comfortable with. And hopefully, especially over the summer, as kids are out of school, maybe that's an opportunity for them to have some activities, especially by the fall when kids come back from school, that online learning and homework resources for those, so those kids and people with maybe some challenges financially can find some solution in this $15 package. So that's basically it, but I want to say as I close out every time, every resident within the city of Birmingham has access to any and all of our services, whether it's business, whether it's residential. We pass every home. It's available. Whether they subscribe or not, that's a different story, but it is available to everyone in your constituents. And by the way, our attorney Keith Sheffield is working on that other issue we were talking about, extending the franchise. So it's in their hands now.
Great.
All right.
Good to hear. Thank you. So for the Spectrum Internet Assist, do they have to be like an existing cable subscriber or have a landline?
Not a landline, it's just, it would be just like, so a landline, not necessarily, it would be a modem into the home, and that modem into the home we would actually connect them as a cable customer. Just for the internet side, we were able to get the internet in the home, because of what happened with a lot of the users of the Affordable Connectivity Program, especially the pandemic showed students had a lot of struggles when they went to homeschooling and online learning and virtual classroom. And the same thing with people being forced to work from home that didn't, if you didn't have that adequate speed. This would allow for certain things to happen in relation to just those necessities. If you want to contact your doctor, if you want to contact a telehealth and do a telemedicine conversation, you can have that done. If you come home from school and your teachers told you to look up something, bring this back, and your resources of your computer there, you can get that done. But it's just, we didn't make it free. We couldn't make it free, but we could do it at a minimum cost. This is just basically what it's going to cost us to produce it, $15.
Yeah, that's amazing. Excellent. So it's great news. Yeah, I don't think the Affordable Connectivity Program is coming back anytime soon.
No, we wish. We wish. And if it does come back, I'll be tap dancing here right in front of you because it was real help to those that, that need it. We
Yeah.
realized a lot of people were affected when it went away.
Okay. So I would imagine that most of Charter Spectrum's infrastructure is on overhead utilities, right?
There are some neighborhoods that are underground. It depends. I think in Birmingham, it may be, not, I tell you what would be the easiest way. We follow the infrastructure, with Alabama Power. If they have underground, because we're attached to that pole, so the right of way that our franchise agreement gives us to use the right of way, and we generally, attached to their poles, and we pay them a fee to use that pole. But if they go underground, then we'll go underground. So that would be the situation. Outside of Birmingham and some newer communities, we have larger underground utilities. To say like maybe some of your Trussville, some of your Hoover areas, you may have some undergrounds that was a part of the requirements for the subdivisions that while the homes were being constructed, trenches were open, everybody went underground. So we follow those patterns there. But I would venture to say that in the Birmingham area, the larger percentage of our services on aerial poles.
Okay. So sometimes we observe that, you know, there's some issue. Like in my personal case, I know that there's a coax cable running from the overhead utility. I guess a truck passed by and pulled it out or something like that. But for, you know, a while, there was just this coax cable, you know, kind of hanging free or whatever. I think we kind of wrapped it up, and in that instance, you know, if it's not immediately affecting my home or my neighbor's home, you know, in that case, they would call it in and say, hey, but my cable's off. But if it's something that's not directly affecting us, but it's just a loose cable, you know, hanging, how can we report that?
Well, send it to me. You can find, you know how to contact me, send it to me, and have all your other councils do that. We've got a team of technical operations. Sometimes maybe the customers don't know who to call or what to do, but if you send it to me, I'll get it to the right team. We've got a team in technical operations that will take care of low-hanging lines. We've got a team that will take care of damaged lines. Sometimes it's just one utility, because there are three of us on a pole, maybe doing some work, and maybe a clamp comes loose and one of our lines accidentally dropped. May not take the service out,
Right.
but it could drop that line 4 or 5 feet. And if that happens, sometime if it doesn't just detach, you never know. So sometimes it's just a matter of an incident that happened, lash it back up and reclamp it. May take an hour to do that at worst. And if it comes to the point that we need to do a more extensive work to get it back up, we can. But just, you can give me a call, you can email me, whichever way is necessary, and I'll get it to the right resources.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Any additional questions?
Questions, just the Spectrum Internet Assist is a great opportunity, you know,
All right.
especially at $15.
Yeah, you know, it was a shocker, well, not a shocker, it was disappointing when it went away, but we tried to find something, took about a year to get something back that would replace it, so hopefully this is helpful to those in your districts.
Yeah, and if you have a PDF version of this that you could share with us, I know a lot of the council offices provide printed packets to residents, and
I'll send it to you in the morning.
okay.
Send it to Kim.
Yeah,
She'll
you go.
get it to us.
My contact there you go. We'll get it to you.
All right, thank you for the
Okay,
report.
thanks for your time.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Okay, next up we have Jefferson County Sewer. Oh, I'm sorry. Alabama Power is next up on our list. Trying to go in order of. Okay.
Good afternoon, counselors, Ms. Phillips. Thank you for allowing us to bring you some updates and speaking with you today. My name is Jasmine Sledge. I am the Community Development Specialist of the Birmingham Division at Alabama Power. Today I have my intern, my Birmingham Promise intern, Sydney Allen, with me of Ramsey High School,
Awesome.
and where she's valedictorian. So, we don't have any particular updates, but we would like to address your concerns about upcoming projects from Alabama Power and their involvement pertaining to your paved roads. So I reached out to our power delivery team, our transmission and our distribution groups. The transmission group told me that there are no current transmission construction projects for the city of Birmingham. The underground distribution group told me the same thing, so there are no upcoming projects that will impact the city of Birmingham.
Okay. A while ago, I think it may have been like a rezoning or something like that, that we approved for those property near the Inslee Works site for a substation. Is that not under construction yet?
I can verify.
Okay. All right, so one of the issues that we have gotten some feedback from our constituents about is power poles. So I don't know how many tens of thousands of power poles Alabama Power has in the city of Birmingham, but I'm pretty sure it's tens of thousands. You know, with tens of thousands of power poles, that's a lot of infrastructure to maintain. And people, as you probably are aware, are running their cars into them all the time. So we have power poles that are leaning left and right and sideways, and some that are snapped off and have a new power pole installed right next to it. The concern that I've heard from the community is that, you know, the appearance of that overhead, you know, utilities, you know, has an impact on the overall appearance of the community. Like, I can bring you to a location in Lakeview, and again, this is one instance of tens of thousands of poles across the city, but, you know, power pole snapped, new one installed right next to it, and the two are sort of just lashed together. Like, literally, there's a piece of power pole and a new pole that's stuck right next to it, and there's like a piece of almost like rope, you know, like tying the two together. And not the best reflection of, you know, maintaining infrastructure on, you know, not the best reflection on Alabama Power Company. So in those types of instances where, you know, residents identify those types of issues, what can we do as residents to bring that to the company's attention?
So you can give that information to me. So right now I'm dealing with another municipality that has the same concerns because they say it's just not aesthetically appeasing for the number of poles. It looks cluttered. So actually tomorrow, I'm going out to that municipality with one of our engineers from Power Delivery, and we're gonna do a ride-along to identify the poles that belong to us, that we can potentially do something with those. So if you can give me the areas, the locations, then I can contact that particular Power Delivery group and see what we can do as far as getting a ride along together with the engineer and identifying those poles.
Okay. Yeah, I have one, resident in particular who's in the process of putting together like a slide deck of, all of the ones in their little area, where, it's either the situation like I described, or, sometimes it's not even y'all, it's, like, Charter with their coax cable hanging off, or, some of the other, infrastructure, that's on the pole but isn't maintained by Alabama Power Company, so,
Yeah, if that constituent has the information collected and pass it on to you all, you can pass it on to me.
Okay.
And then I can get with our Power Delivery team.
okay, great. Counselor Tate?
No questions, but, I'm sorry, no, piggyback off what you said, but I do wanna know, coming out Finley Avenue, coming down on both ramps, the lights are out. So I just wanna know, are those Alabama Power poles?
So I will have to send in a report to identify them as either Alabama Power Poles or AlDOT. So if you said coming off Finley Avenue?
Yeah, when you get out Finley Avenue, I wanna say that's 261, is that B? Cause Finley Avenue is the exit that I use a lot. So coming off of Finley, and if you're on Finley Boulevard and you going 65 north, like I'm just saying, when you come down Finley Boulevard, you pass Kenworth, so you got the Sunco, which is closed, you got the Marathon, which the Marathon is on the corner, and then you merge onto the freeway to go 65 north, so that power light is out on that side, and then coming down Finley, when you exit off Finley, so you have the Circle K, that power light is out. And also coming down Finley, coming off of 65 north, coming off on the northern ramp, that light is out.
Okay.
I just- And then, yeah, I do want to ask questions, like, I do want to know, and I know you and I did a ride-along just here recently.
Yes, ma'am.
How often are you guys going into the community, looking at the blown bulbs or the lights, making sure that that we have adequate lighting, in the communities?
That's something I will have to run past our local lineman or our Power Delivery team to see how often their schedule is. But it depends, especially with weather conditions too.
Okay.
But I can check on the schedule.
Yeah, because I know I see, when we look at, like, I've been in Fairfield, around that park area, and I know, because like, it's lit up like daytime at nighttime over there, and I'm like, why, and it may be a different lighting system, so I don't know, it may be, some new lights that they have over in those areas, and, would love to see something like that, coming to, the Birmingham area to light up, the community, so you can have, adequate lighting, so it is, lit up, but really appreciate, what you all did for me on Monday, I guess it was Monday, I can't remember.
Last Tuesday.
Where we were identifying very, very dark alleys.
Yes.
So yeah, check into that for me, and if I see some lights out while I'm riding, I'll just capture the streets and let you know what vicinity that they're in.
That'll be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That reminds me, so I guess it was about 10 years ago that, the city went to, different system, conversion to LED lighting for our street lights. And as part of that, the street lights became the responsibility of the power company, owned and maintained by the power
The
company.
maintenance agreement.
So even 10 years later, you know, I don't know that all of our residents understand that when there's an issue with a street light, you know, they really need to contact the power company in order to report that. Do you guys have any kind of specific portal to report a street light outage, or is it just a,
Just the general,
Customer
1-800
service.
number, 1-800-245-2244. And they can just report it that way. And the people in the customer service of the business call center, whether it's a business or a residential customer, they can report those, and either one of those centers will report the outage. Yes, 1-800-245-2244. Welcome.
all right, great, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Jefferson County Sewer.
Good afternoon, I'm David Dennard. I'm Director of Environmental Services for Jefferson County. So just a little bit of background on us. We maintain about 3,100 miles of sewer across the county, a little bit in Shelby County, a little bit in St. Clair. The majority of that is in the city of Birmingham. We treat about 105 million gallons of water a day that we discharge into Village Creek and Valley Creek and 5 Miles, so all of our local waterways. One of the updates from this past year, if you're not aware, in this past September, we terminated our consent decree from 1996. And a big part of how we were able to terminate that was that over the last 10 years, we developed a very effective asset management program where we can model all of our sewer pipes, we can prioritize the work we do, and we can do that in a way that's much more cost effective and really, in the way we're doing it now, much less disturbance to the citizens and to the roads and everything else. So you'll see before you a list of projects. We've got 19 projects that are currently active that are either partially or wholly within the city of Birmingham, totaling about $73 million. The majority of those, 11 of those projects are what we call rehabilitation projects. So what we'll do is we will put a liner inside an existing pipe, and we'll inflate that, and then that'll cure with some hot water steam. One of the big benefits of that is we don't have to dig the road. And we're typically in and out of a segment, a street, within a half a day. So that'll impact the residents a little bit because we'll be setting up at a manhole, for instance, in the street. They'll have to sort of limit their water usage because we're blocking that pipe for a couple of hours, so we'll post notices on the doors. So that's a much lower disturbance than going out and digging and replacing pipes. We've really only got one project currently going that's partially in the city of Birmingham that's actually replacing pipes. So we've got a couple of pump station projects. Again, those are mostly situated on their own sort of parcel. They don't really disturb the residents or the neighborhoods. Several inspections programs, projects that we've got going because we're always trying to look forward to what needs to be repaired. And we're planning that out 10 years ahead of time. And the only other project we've got that's going to have some dig work is a relocation project for ALDOT on that stretch between the zoo and the gardens. Just doing a little bit of Cahaba Road ALDOT relocation there. So we have done several neighborhood meetings in the city this year, a few in Inslee, a few towards the airport, College Hills. We've done one in Martinwood out towards Huffman, just to kind of let the residents know, particularly on those rehab projects, how it's going to impact those. and just to keep them informed of that. We also have, in this calendar year, we expect to let 8 other projects totaling about $39 million. Again, the vast majority of those, I don't think there are any really excavation projects except for the airport work that we'll do, and we'll coordinate that with the airport authority right now too. So we'll see whether that actually bids this year. So one of the tools that we have available to our citizens and anybody really is on our website. We have a construction map. It's very detailed, so you can go in. You can click on that construction link, and it will take you to a map where you can zoom anywhere in the city. You can go all across the county. You can zoom in and see if we've got a line that we're replacing. You'll see that line highlighted. They're sort of color-coded by time frame, so you can click on that line. You can see the schedule. You can see when we sort of let the work, when we expect to complete it. So that's one way that citizens can really figure out what's going on in their all the way down to the street level, what's going on, and keep people informed. One of the other things to just let you know, on our, we did terminate our consent decree, but we are very much aware of any kind of ongoing sewer overflow. So if citizens see a release coming from a manhole when you get a lot of rain, or you have blockage on the line, you see sewer coming out of a manhole, or you smell an odor, a sewer odor, or whatever, we have a 24-hour number. We also have a link on our website too that people can go to and report those immediately. We typically have a really, really quick response time, typically less than 30 minutes, that we have somebody on site when we have sewer overflows reported. And then lastly, I know you would be interested in the paving and the patching that we do as part of our work. One of the things we've done for a long time is that we typically do at least a lane width and sometimes full width, depending on where the work that we're doing is in the road. We typically mill and have at least a 10-foot wide strip that we mill. So we've always tried to make sure that the patches that we do are minimally invasive. We come back and do hot mix on all our patches. So hopefully if you see a patch that's a couple of feet wide, it's not us. If it's a 10-foot wide patch, it probably is us. So if you see any though, sort of patching issues or citizen complaints, certainly refer those to that 24-hour number to the website, and we'll be responsive to that.
Great. So, but those excavation projects are pretty few and far between, according to what you're saying. Most of the line repair work that you guys are doing is installation of the liner. Is that?
Yes, at least for the next several years. We may have some capacity projects that are 3 to 5 years out, but I'm not aware of any. Some towards, I think we're going to be doing a storage project potentially towards Roosevelt City, probably in another 5 years or so. That's one of the capacity projects we have coming out, but most of those are several years down the road.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for the maps and for the contact information. Yeah, I know that, dealing with the flooding issue and overflows is, historically an issue. So thank you for reminding us about the reporting mechanism for that. So.
Do you have the phone number for the?
Yes, our
24-hour
24-hour number is 205-942-0681.
All right, thank you.
All right.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Next up, we have Spire Energy.
Good afternoon. How are y'all doing today?
Hey, doing well.
I'm going to introduce myself real quick. My name is Kyler Stewart. I'm the manager of pipeline management for Spire Southeast. Newly promoted in the role, so I think this is supposed to be a monthly cadence. Is that correct? These meetings or?
More, yeah. We typically do this type of meeting once a quarter where we have the companies come in, but if you ever, have a project that you guys want to report out on for us, we do these meetings once every 2 weeks, typically, so, we'd be glad to, have you guys come and speak to us if you want to, tell us.
I was just gonna apologize for not attending any that we've missed so far. So we've had some turnover. Well, we've had some retirees. The person that probably came and spoke retired a couple months back. I'm gonna introduce Justin Monroe. He's manager, pipeline management.
Yeah, and Kyler mentioned that he was manager, but he's
Oh,
actually died.
Sorry.
So,
7 weeks into it, but Justin's a subject matter expert on this. I'm gonna turn it over to him.
Okay,
yeah, and so, like, appreciate it. So like Kyler mentioned, this is kind of our first go-around, so I'm gonna give you kind of, I guess, an overview of what we have as far as replacement work that we got going on in the Birmingham metro area, and kind of what to expect kind of upcoming. So currently, we have 14 projects that we're working on, 11 of which, well, 10 of which are in active construction. 7 of those will be in the UAB area. 2 of those are in the Crestwood North neighborhood. We have another one that's starting in a couple of weeks, and then that one is actually in Inslee. And then 3 we already have scheduled, I guess, later, to start later this year. We're anticipating roughly another 10 to 15 more replacement projects in the area. We're just waiting on those designs to get back from engineering, go through the permitting process, but the 14 that I mentioned are already approved, and we're just ready to kick off, or we're already started. So we don't currently have any like special projects that we have going on. If we do, then we'll try to attend one of those bi-weekly meetings that you guys have. And yeah, so that's pretty much all I really have. Just wanted to also let you guys know that every time we are doing a replacement project, there's 4 communication efforts that we send out. So we have a postcard, we do a door hanger, we have an automated call, as well as some street signage. And just like everyone else, we try to do our best to get in and do a permanent repair as quickly as possible. We do our permanent repairs through a third-party vendor. We have a few of them. Any specific questions?
yeah, so, for residents that, have questions or want to report a issue specifically related to a line replacement project, rather than, I guess, engaging, usually it's after the crews have left that, we hear from constituents about issues. I'll give you an example. So I live in Crestwood North where you guys are doing a lot of work. And there was a crew that came in and, they put in the temporary patch. People call us, say, hey, look, these guys, didn't repair the street properly. And I'm like, hang on a second, they're coming back. But in those types of incidents, those situations, is there, a online portal or a phone number that folks can call?
Yeah, so we actually have a 1-800 number for those types of questions. It's 1-800-292-4010. And then if it's something specific that, you may have a question on, you can also reach out to Kelvin Johnson. His number is 205-260-5697. I'm sorry? Yeah, I thought that's what I said, 5897.
Okay.
Is that right? 5897? Okay.
Okay. And then as far as, can folks go online and find maps of where the construction projects are happening?
So we don't have an intuitive system like that, that I'm aware of. A lot of our mapping is kind of kept in-house, and then it's very fluid. So I don't, to my knowledge, we don't.
Okay. But otherwise, folks would get one of those or multiple notifications prior to crews showing up on their
Right.
block?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And then if I come across anything, I will also, let you know about any potential mapping. So this is.
It's just an example of one of the cards that we hand out actually on the door.
Yeah, and so it has a lot of information. It's a website, you can go to it. Gives you a lot of information about like what the process is for upgrades that we do.
Yep.
That
Alright.
should have been the same thing that you guys have received on your door.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I think we're good. You guys are doing a lot of work. Would definitely, again, welcome you guys back if you want to provide us an update. You know, I know you guys are with the directional drilling, or usually your street excavations are pretty small.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
we try to keep it to all the boring,
Yeah,
just to
so
try to minimize
that's appreciated. You know, but there's some right-of-way, you know, things that folks call us about the area between the sidewalk and the curb. So in any case, as you guys are working along, you know, we'd appreciate it if you could keep us updated.
Okay, will do.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you.
All right. Next up, we have AT&T. We have anybody from AT&T here? Nope. Verizon? Nope. City of Birmingham Stormwater? Nope. Okay, so we'll move on. So new and old business. Counselor Tate, you had some questions for BDOT?
Yes, I do have some questions for VDOT.
We're not gonna keep you on the hook for too long because we gotta clear out of here for budget and finance.
Yeah, Director Fowler, just real quick, if I can get an update on, street calming for District 9.
Okay.
And also, I want to talk about, I was coming from Gardendale last night, and when you get right by the 33rd Avenue exit and right, Carver High School, right in that little section, all the way from there to Finley, exiting off Finley is like completely dark. So do we have any plans coming up in the near future to kind of light those street lights up? I mean, because it is like, when I say dark, it is dark.
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about traffic calming first. We have selected a contractor to actually take over a package of the speed cushion installations. I believe that our Department of Capital Projects is finalizing the agreement with them now. So I would expect to see them out working within the next, couple of months. And then we've given them a pretty substantial group of streets to install. So without having that list in front of me, I would imagine that many of those are in District 9 or
Yeah, 'cause
certainly
I
some
know
of them.
Castleberry Way, UW Clemens comes to mind, and Grand Boulevard in Westchester. Those UW Clemens and Grand Boulevard is in Westchester, and I know Castleberry Way is in Westchester, not Westchester, but Smithfield Estates.
Okay. I will check to see which ones are in District 9, and then I can send you follow-up information on the status of those.
If you can please check, I was just having this discussion with President O'Quinn before we started the meeting, the Fountain Heights Rec Center, and like under the freeway, we call it the Vodoc. It reminds you of when you go up under
Yes,
right by
ma'am.
the swimming pool in Norwood, where it's like lit up. And I think they said that was the railroad, that belonged to the railroad, but I know that the Fountain Heights constituency has been asking, about that, and it takes you over into Enon Ridge.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
The underpass that goes under I-65 right there?
Yeah.
Like, 'cause they've been, and I've inquired about this before, like lighting it up, like really lighting it up.
Okay.
I think the lights may be out, so I know I saw that in Norwood, and I was like, this is like pretty bright, so I was like, can someone please check into that? And I think they said, being President O'Quinn was having that discussion, is that ALDOT's responsibility?
So I guess a couple of things. I think you've asked two different questions. So the first is on I-65 north of downtown Birmingham, so heading up towards Gardendale, some of the areas that are unlit. I think you're referring maybe to some of the lights that are specifically out. Not that there's not lights there at all, but there are lights that are not working.
All of them are not working.
Okay.
I mean, like, they are literally, like, the pole has, what, about 8 lights into that little
The high
pole?
mast
Yes.
do, yeah.
Like, none of them are working.
So we've actually entered into a partnership with AlDOT where they are using some money in partnership between our two organizations to do an assessment of the lights north of downtown Birmingham, and I'm pretty sure those are captured in that. So I would expect we would have an update pretty soon, because what they do is they have an on-call contractor that when they do the assessment, then, you know, assuming that it's something that they can repair, then they'll release that contractor to do that. So they are doing that assessment right now for that section just north of downtown. So I'll see if I can get a status update on that so that I can give you some more specific information on when we could expect to hopefully see that solved. The second part of your question regarding the underpass, that's kind of a two-tiered question as well. I think the example that you saw in Norwood is the 15th Avenue underpass that goes under railroad tracks.
Yes.
Is that right? So that's actually a partnership with the railroad that we worked out. Actually, Colin Alexander in our office, in a lot of meetings, got that agreement worked out. We have been trying to work out some similar arrangements for the underpasses under the interstates, because there are many across the city. But candidly, one of the main problems that we have with the underpass areas under the interstates is vandalism. So we are doing a pilot project at one of the main areas where we receive complaints. We receive complaints across the city. Bush Boulevard is one, 19th Street over there is where we receive a lot of complaints as well. One of the areas where we received a lot of complaints is 7th Avenue South under the Red Mountain Expressway, just because there's a lot of foot traffic there. And we are entering into an initial pilot project where we're actually going to install underground wiring, to some different types of light fixtures than we've used in the past. The hope there is that those are more resistant to vandalism, that system, but it is an expensive system to pursue. So to be honest with you, we don't have a great solution for a lot of our underpasses under the interstates just yet because of vandalism. And so we're trying a few different things in a couple of different areas in partnership with Alabama Power and AlDOT. That 7th Avenue South one is one of the first ones, just because of the amount of complaints that we've gotten there as well. So if that is successful, then we can turn our attention then to some others. And that project, I think, is under construction right now, or it's close to it. So,
I mean, I don't know how well traveled that area. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's probably well traveled because people are probably traveling, you know, in cars going from there to Inn and Ridge, but I don't know what the foot traffic is. And I know that's a question that has been proposed to me on many occasions.
it is very dark, that particular crossing. I've seen that as well.
Thank
Alright.
you.
All right, thank you. We got to clear out of here for budget and finance. So motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.